Have you ever stood face to face with someone who says they love you but keeps you at arm's length? It's like trying to hug a cactus you want to hold on, but it keeps pushing you away. And yet, deep down, something tells you they do love you. They just don't show it like everyone else. Today, I want to pull back the curtain, because love doesn't always look like fairy tales. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's hidden behind fear, but it's real. Let's talk about the 6 signs an avoidant partner actually loves you. And if you're with one, you need to hear this. Love doesn't always come dressed in flowers and fireworks. Sometimes it shows up in silence, in space, in subtle, sacred signals. If you're with an avoidant partner and they're showing these signs, don't underestimate the depth of what they feel. Because love that fights its own fear to stay near you, that's not just real, that's powerful. When you're in love with someone who has an avoidant attachment style, the first thing you'll notice is the inconsistency. They're close, then distant. One moment you feel like you're on the same page, connected, aligned, and the next, it's like they've disappeared into their own emotional cave. And that can feel confusing, frustrating, and even painful. But here's the truth most people don't understand: just showing up is an act of love for someone who's wired to run. Avoidants are not broken. They're not cold-hearted or unloving. They're protective. Somewhere in their past, whether in childhood or through past heartbreak, they learned that closeness equals vulnerability and vulnerability equals pain. So they developed a defense, distance. They create emotional space not to hurt you, but to survive emotionally. But when they show up, despite their fear, despite their instinct to retreat, that's not just routine, it's revolutionary. Think about it. They might not say, "I love you" every day. They might not be overly affectionate. But if they text you after going quiet, if they keep coming back after pulling away, if they try even in small, awkward ways to stay connected, that is their version of effort. That is their heart cracking open, even if just a little. To the securely attached, love is expressed freely. But for the avoidant, love is a battlefield. They are fighting themselves every step of the way. And if they are choosing to stay, to show up, to try to make this work with you, it means you're not just important to them, you are significant enough to challenge their own wiring. That's love in motion. That's love under pressure. Now, this doesn't mean you accept neglect or let your needs go unmet. But it does mean you start looking deeper. You stop judging their love by how loud it is and start measuring it by how hard it was for them to even give it. When they show up, when they message you after a hard day, when they call just to check in, when they stay even when they feel overwhelmed, that is their version of choosing you. It's not always romantic and it's not always easy to understand, but it's real. It's effort, and effort from someone who is scared of closeness is not small, it's monumental. We often grow up with this idea that love is loud, that the person who loves you will always express it through constant affection, emotional words, grand gestures, and passionate declarations. But that version of love doesn't apply to everyone, especially not to someone with an avoidant attachment style. When it comes to avoidance, love is often quiet, subtle. You have to pay attention because they express it in ways that aren't always obvious, and one of the biggest ways is through the way they listen. Avoidant partners might not always respond with emotion. You might pour your heart out, expecting an immediate hug, a teary-eyed reply, or a passionate reaction. Instead, you get silence or a calm, almost flat response. And in that moment, you might assume they don't care. But that's not always the case. They're often listening more deeply than you think. You see, avoidants are highly observant. They're constantly scanning their environment and picking up on what's going on, even when they don't react emotionally. They may not say much, but they remember. They remember the little things, what you said when you were anxious, the way your voice changed when you were hurt, the things you mentioned in passing that mattered to you. And later, when you're not even expecting it, they do something that reflects that memory. That quiet act of care might be fixing something you didn't even ask to be fixed, changing their behavior to make you feel safer, or giving you a gift related to a comment you made weeks ago. That's not random, that's intentional. That's love in action, just not the kind you're used to. Avoidants tend to show love through service, reliability, and indirect gestures because vulnerability with emotions is extremely uncomfortable for them. But if you look closely, you'll start to notice how much they're listening not just to your words, but to your needs. That's their way of staying connected. That's their form of intimacy, and it matters. It's easy to misinterpret their silence as indifference, but more often than not, it's processing. It's self-protection. And yet if they're still present, still attuned to what you're saying, still responding in their own way, they're not emotionally detached. They're just loving you in the only way they've learned to feel safe doing it. And that's worth noticing. People with an avoidant attachment style are masters at creating space, emotional space, physical space, even conversational space. They often keep their world small, controlled, and private. They don't let just anyone in, and it's not because they don't care, it's because they've built walls for survival. Those walls protect them from pain, rejection, and vulnerability. So when an avoidant partner starts to invite you into their space, that's not a small moment. That's a sacred sign of trust. It means you've crossed a boundary that few ever do. This isn't about romance in the traditional sense. They might not take you on flashy dates or shower you with compliments. But pay attention to the quieter moments. When they let you into their home, not just physically, but emotionally, it's a milestone. Maybe they start to let you see their routines, their quirks, their morning habits. Maybe they leave things at your place or invite you to theirs without hesitation. And maybe they sit next to you in silence without feeling the need to fill every second with conversation. These things to them are intimate, they're raw, they're real. Avoidants often associate closeness with risk, so when they begin to make space for you in their daily life, it means they're softening. It means something inside of them is starting to trust that you're not here to hurt them, that you're not going to betray that vulnerability. It means they're letting their guard down not with words, but with access. You might notice they include you in decisions or begin to share their thoughts about the future. You might be invited to meet the few people they keep close. They might open up about something from their past, something they've never told anyone. These are powerful moments because for them, this isn't just sharing, it's exposing a part of themselves they've kept hidden for a long time. And that doesn't happen by accident. The world of an avoidant partner is usually a closed system. They operate best when they feel in control. So the moment they start to let you in, it's because they're beginning to see you not as a threat, but as home. It may not come with emotional fireworks or poetic language, but make no mistake, being invited into the private world is one of the loudest ways they say, I love you. Growth is uncomfortable for everyone, but for someone with an avoidant attachment style, growth in relationships can feel like walking through fire barefoot. Their entire nervous system is designed to retreat when things get too intimate, too emotional, too uncertain. They're not trying to be difficult, they've just been wired, often through pain, to protect themselves by pulling away. So when an avoidant partner begins to stretch themselves, to lean into discomfort, to try even in small ways to become better for the relationship, that's not just a sign of love. That's a sacrifice. That's transformation. You might not notice it at first because growth for them rarely looks loud or dramatic. It might be a small apology when they would have gone silent in the past. It might be an attempt to communicate even when they're overwhelmed. It might be attending therapy, reading a book on relationships, or asking you what you need when they'd normally shut down. These steps might seem small from the outside, but for an avoidant, they are massive. They are battling years, sometimes decades of emotional programming, and they're doing it for one reason. This isn't about perfection. Avoidants don't suddenly become emotionally fluent overnight. They may still pull back. They may still get triggered, but the fact that they keep returning, that they're trying again, opening up more, listening more, holding space for you, even when it feels foreign, that's real growth. And that kind of growth doesn't happen without love. It doesn't happen unless the relationship matters enough to push them out of their comfort zone. There's something incredibly powerful about someone who is willing to face their own fears, not because they have to, but because they want to. Avoidant partners, when they care deeply, will push themselves toward vulnerability, even when every part of them wants to retreat. And that is love at its rawest. It's not always pretty, it's not always clean, but it's honest, it's brave, and it's full of intention. If you see them taking ownership, showing effort, choosing connection, even when it scares them, that is growth. And when that growth is rooted in the desire to be a better partner for you, to keep the connection alive, to hold on to something real, that's not just love. That's a declaration, you're worth the work. Love doesn't always announce itself with open arms and emotional vulnerability. Sometimes it hides behind hesitation, silence, and space. But that doesn't make it any less real. An avoidant partner may not express love in the ways you're used to or in the ways you've been taught to expect. Yet, if you look closely, you'll see that love often exists in the quiet decisions, the small actions, and the internal battles they're fighting just to stay connected. When they show up, when they listen, when they create space for you, and when they try to grow, those aren't just gestures. Those are signals, not always loud, but deeply significant. Understanding the heart of an avoidant partner requires patience and a shift in perspective. It requires you to stop measuring love by how loudly it's spoken and start recognizing how deeply it's felt. Avoidants aren't avoiding you, they're avoiding the pain they believe intimacy might bring. And if they're choosing to stay, choosing to try, choosing to step into discomfort for the sake of the relationship, then they're doing something powerful. They're loving you the best way they know how, even if it doesn't always look the way you expected. That's not just affection, that's courage in motion. But let's be clear, this doesn't mean you settle for emotional crumbs. It doesn't mean you abandon your needs or shrink to fit someone else's limitations. Love is a two-way street. You deserve to feel seen, valued, and emotionally safe. Yet it's also true that love looks different through different emotional lenses. When an avoidant partner is making real effort, when they're showing signs of commitment, connection, and personal growth, that's a form of love that deserves to be acknowledged. Because for them, loving someone is not just an emotion, it's an act of bravery. So if you're in a relationship with someone avoidant and you see these signs, don't rush to judgment. Pause. Look deeper. See the intention behind the silence, the meaning behind the small gestures, the fight behind every act of vulnerability. Love like this isn't always loud, but it's strong. It's raw. It's real. And if you can meet it with understanding, balance, and self-respect, then you might just find yourself building something extraordinary, something not based on fantasy, but on true emotional growth, trust, and connection. And that is the kind of love that lasts. Thank you so much for watching and being part of this powerful conversation. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Remember, love doesn't always look the way we expect it to, but when it's real, it's worth understanding. Until next time, take care of your heart, keep growing, and never settle for anything less than a love that respects and values you. Goodbye for now, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay aware, stay connected.